The sharp crack of skin against skin echoed through the bright diner like a thunderclap on a cloudless afternoon, and in that single cruel moment, the whole room seemed to freeze as a fragile girl named Nayara folded inward, her trembling hands clenching her worn cardigan, while her eyes searched the floor for a mercy that never came. Sunlight poured through the wide glass windows, casting ordinary warmth over pastel booths and chrome counters, yet nothing could soften the humiliation searing through her as laughter from the group of careless teenagers spread like a sickness across the tiled floor. She had only come to enjoy a simple slice of strawberry pie, a rare treat after a long morning of slow, careful steps and whispered stares. But instead she became entertainment for strangers who mistook weakness for amusement. If you believe that kindness deserves second chances and that justice can rise from compassion, take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Light of Kindness, because stories like this remind us that even the darkest moments can become a turning point for hope. Nayara had always known what it meant to move through the world differently, her left leg weakened since childhood, her balance uncertain, her pace slower than most. Yet her spirit remained gentle and dignified despite every cruel glance or impatient sigh. That afternoon, the diner was filled with the hopeful hum of ordinary life, forks clinking, coffee steaming, and curious children peering over milkshakes, while outside, the summer sun painted the pavement in honeyed gold without a trace of evening shadow. She tried to focus on the small joys, the sweet scent of dessert, the softness of the cushion beneath her, the feeling of belonging if only for a moment. But the bullies arrived like a storm without clouds, loud and careless, whispering and pointing, daring each other to cross a line that should never have been drawn. The shove came first, a sharp nudge that rattled her glass, then a cruel slap delivered with thoughtless bravado, and her world tilted as shock burned deeper than the sting on her cheek. The manager hesitated, other diners looked away, and time stretched thin and brittle as Nayara steadied herself, refusing to cry because tears had too often been mistaken for weakness. She gathered her purse with shaking fingers, her heart thundering not just with pain, but with a familiar shame that had followed her since she first learned how unforgiving the world could be. Yet as she struggled to rise, a server named Callan approached with a quiet gesture of support, helping her sit back down, offering a napkin, a glass of water, a look of sincere concern that restored a sliver of warmth to a heart almost shattered. Outside, the afternoon breeze stirred the leaves, the hum of passing cars drifted past, and somewhere beyond the horizon, an unexpected chain of fate had already been set in motion, unseen and unheard. Not far down the road, a group of bikers known for their disciplined brotherhood and firm codes of respect were gathering after a charity ride, their motorcycles gleaming beneath the open sky like streaks of silver fire against the bright day. Among them was a broad-shouldered man named Roan Calder, a veteran whose stern exterior masked a history of choosing protection over power and loyalty over fear. They had heard a passerby mention raised voices and cruel laughter at the diner, and something in Roan's instincts stirred, guiding them like an unseen compass toward the small building where a wounded soul tried to piece herself back together. The roar of engines softened as they pulled in, boots stepping down in unison, sunlight shimmering over leather and metal, and an uneasy hush fell over the parking lot as those inside sensed an arrival that carried weight far beyond appearances. When Roan and his companions entered, they did not bring chaos or threat, only a calm intensity that commanded attention without. A single raised voice. Their presence alone shifted the air, firm yet strangely reassuring, as Roan took in the scene, the tear-streaked cheek of Nayara, the trembling outrage in Callan's posture, and the restless guilt flickering in the eyes of the teenagers who had so boldly mocked her moments before. He moved with deliberate care, kneeling slightly to meet Nayara's gaze, not as a figure of dominance, but as a guardian recognizing a silent plea for dignity. In that gentle space of understanding, something extraordinary began to unfold, a lesson not carved through fear, but through compassion, as the bullies found themselves confronted by calm restraint and the irreversible truth of accountability. The bikers did not shout or threaten, yet their quiet presence spoke volumes, exposing the teenage bravado for what it truly was, a fragile shield masking insecurity and ignorance. Roan's steady composure radiated respect as he gestured toward a chair, inviting Nayara to remain seated, assuring her that she was safe, that her worth was not defined by the cruelty she endured, and that no one in that room had the right to take her dignity away. The teenagers, once fearless in their cruelty, stood awkwardly beneath the bright fluorescent glow, their faces flushing with the dawning realization that bravery had nothing to do with ridicule and everything to do with empathy. Around them, a murmur of agreement rose from the onlookers, a shared sense that the tide had shifted, that justice had entered not with anger but with quiet strength and unwavering resolve. As Roan gently encouraged the bullies to acknowledge their wrongdoing, they faltered, words emerging with hesitant sincerity, and in that rare moment of accountability, Nayara felt the heavy weight in her chest loosen just slightly. The diner seemed brighter, the sunlight warmer, the ordinary afternoon transformed into a sacred space where courage triumphed over cruelty. Callan watched with softened expression, aware that this moment would echo far beyond the walls of that simple establishment, while Nayara's hands steadied, her heart cautiously reopening to the fragile beauty of human decency. Outside, birds soared across the clear blue sky, children laughed in the distance, and the world continued, unaware that a quiet revolution of kindness had just unfolded in the most unexpected corner of a roadside diner. With care that honored her independence, the bikers offered support, not pity, and Nayara accepted with graceful strength, feeling her shame dissolve into something almost like hope. As Roan walked toward the door alongside her, the afternoon sun catching the edges of their silhouettes, she realized that this moment was not merely about standing up to bullies, but about reclaiming the humanity that had been momentarily stolen. Within her stirred a newfound courage, the belief that her life was more than the limitations others chose to see, and as the engines hummed softly again, the atmosphere vibrated with a quiet promise that kindness, when shared with sincerity, could heal even the deepest wounds. Special request: comment below and share what this moment of compassion meant to you as you watched Nayara's dignity return. As the bikers departed beneath the bright blue sky and ordinary life resumed its gentle rhythm, Nayara remained seated for a moment, absorbing the warmth that now filled the air, comforted not only by the justice served, but by the profound reminder that the world still held goodness. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that empathy can change destinies, please like, share, and subscribe to Light of Kindness, and let your engagement be a ripple of hope, spreading compassion wherever it is needed most.